future skilling and learning experience innovation through content engineering. For the same, I would like to invite Mr. Sameer Nigam, who is the CEO at Stratbeans Learning Solutions. Giving a brief, he holds over 20 plus years of extensive experience in strategy formulation and implementation. Prior to this, Sameer worked with Genpact and TCS. He has spent more than 10 years in various geographies, ensuring development and management of large projects in several business domains such as housing, banking, finance, taxation, hospitality, insurance, and now he enjoys training, building entrepreneurs, and guiding them through their journeys. Please welcome Mr. Sameer with a huge round of applause.
Guys, you can start the timer also. I'll only keep it 20 minutes. Okay. But where is the slide? Yeah, okay. This is my slide, guys. Thanks a lot. Go to the next slide, please. Okay. So this is me, and my organization is Stratbeans. We are based out of East Coast. We have about 115,000 customers globally, about 151 countries we work with. And we provide learning management systems, performance support systems. Today, what I'm going to talk to you about is not going to be about specific technologies, but some concepts which you may like. And if you do, then tell me. And if you don't, then also give us a feedback. Now, I'm going to talk about convergence. And I will first ask you, do you agree that, do you recognize convergence as a force of nature? Do you think that so many things are happening today which are due to convergence only? Do you agree yet? Some of you, but looks like broadly you don't. But let's see what changes later on. So today, mobile, social, maybe communities, maybe telecom, they all have converged and really given us many opportunities, new things. The way of working has changed, a lot of those. Let me remind you a little bit with a story which is well known, and then we'll see whether we can talk about something about those technologies which are going to shape the L&D space. You might have realized that L&D has become pretty critical now in the last 2 years, and the L&D roles are also very important. You talk to your CXOs a lot now. And okay, let's just see that story though. So this is probably well-known story. There was a mobile phone I had, which the best feature was torchlight. I agree some of you had the same too. But then things changed. Mobiles become a little more capable because multimedia filters were added, image processing was added, powerful processor for gaming, maybe some camera and stuff like that. And I saw 2 previous sessions where we were talking about some new technologies in L&D also. But what that did to the society, let me ask you that. Just visualize in your mind, and this is what happened actually. So this is what you see now. So this guy, this is a real guy. His name is Jake. And so if you are a funny person, or if you know something, you can pick up a phone and you can create a TikTok, a reel or something. So that's all, I mean, I'm not going to say that only the life of this guy has changed, but all of our lives have also changed. Positive, negative, both, really. I mean, we consume a lot of content. So who can say that they didn't consume about 1 hour of content on reel or something last evening? Like all of you guys probably did. So the question is, where does it connect to L&D? And let's just see. So I'm going to talk about one thing which is probably new to some of you at least, which is called content engineering. Now this is an upcoming discipline which probably got a lot of highlight in last 2 years, and I'll talk about it. But then also talk about the competency management in a different way today. I mean, I am sure most of you will agree that you are expert on that. You talk about it. There are very good tools and solutions around it. And content authoring, pretty boring, isn't it? I mean, what I'm going to talk about that anyways. But let's see whether you agree to some part of that. And let's just see, take it forward, content authoring first. Now, let me put some vision in front of you. I mean, the way this technology should help in content authoring, if I give you a tool or a new tool, you'll say, why the hell are you giving it to me unless the reason is clear? So the first thing I'm going to say is that today, you look at this first point over here, knowledge influencers. Do you really find that there are knowledge leaders in your organizations and they should be expressing a lot of their thoughts more audio visually, all of that? But go back and tell me this. How much of the content that you see in the organization is created by your SMEs or subject matter experts? Most of the content is really created by vendors, or you have taken some very good quality content from very nice names, very good companies. They're doing good job. LinkedIn Learning, for example, or Skillsoft, pretty good content there. how about the guys who are knowledge leaders? They are pretty capable, isn't it? But that content is missing. Then how about this thing, cost of content creation? The vision is that it should be zero. Well, it is a lot because, imagine that small bottle of water that is there. If I picked it up myself, probably it's about $1 for me. But if I asked a vendor to do it for me, it's probably $3. So that's the same thing happening in here also, but we'll see how we can solve it. And then lastly, when you talk about content authoring tools, the way we talk, 90% of it is body language, and we are missing that out mostly. And how can we solve this? Let me show you one example at least, which will probably inspire you. Hopefully you will agree with me. And this is very interesting, so don't read it yet. Okay, hold on. Let me give you the backstory first. So there was this organization, and they are actually one of our large customers, one of the largest apparel brand that you would have. They're based out somewhere in the eastern side of the United States. So what they did, they said, you know what, this all is good theory, but how we'll implement it, we'll first like to try it out. So they said, okay, so let's make a list. These are the, let's say, about 38 competencies which are important to us. Okay, so they did that exercise. Then they said, okay, let's announce within the organization people from HR, finance, operations, and one more department, I'm forgetting that. They should raise their hand if they know anything about these competencies and they want to be a little vocal about it. And then what they did was that they gave them tools and a little bit of love and affection. I mean, you really are sticking your neck out this time when you're creating content yourself. And it's not 3D, it's probably not storyboarded well, and you're just a content influencer trying to be a content influencer this time. You just know your subject matter for that. So what happened was this middle thing. Like 6 months were spent. All of the people who were finally shortlisted, they were about 200 odd such people who raised their hand and they were trained on it. In 6 months' time, each of them approximately created 5 to 6 hours of content each. So that is how much content they ended up creating. Now, if you get that much content, your LMS will start overflowing, isn't it? I mean, you'll say, okay, now where is the AI and all that so that it can be organized, and there are good solutions around it. But look at the number only. And the value of that content, and the most pessimistic estimates were taken, was about $1.87 million. Now, you can do the maths and please talk to us if you see a different math. That's okay. I mean, maybe this is just a guess number. But what was really happening after that is a little surprising. 18% of the people within the organization said they actually touched that content, shared with other guys, even made a remark that, you know what, this can be better said this way or something. That's an engagement, isn't it? I mean, do you really see that kind of engagement on any LMS-driven content? You hope for that, but does it happen? Now, what happened in this case? Same thing which happened today, isn't it? I mean, why are you looking at me, why you're even humoring me by attending this session is because probably I'm a little relevant to your field and we are all from the same space. So you will, it's still hear me out. Even if I'm not the TED Talk level speaker or, I mean, you can find similar good stuff on YouTube also because it is relevant. That's why you will engage. Now, imagine your colleague sharing some content. So that's what happened in this case. So let's just move on. This is how the content authoring tool, which is given more or less free of cost to the whole organization, everyone can pick it up, looks like. You can express yourself visually like that. You can import images, do everything. So, I mean, the regular stuff. You can create SCOMs if you would, but that's your choice. But you are an SME. You are probably not knowing too much is what we are imagining with this tool. So, let's move on. So, content engineering, this is the fair bit. I mean, this is something new, hopefully. Now, what is content engineering, by the way? If some of you know, at least raise a hand. Let me understand if there are people who are utilizing that field. Oh, wow, looks like I've got a field day today, so nobody knows about it, just me. So I'm going to be probably, interrupt me if you know at least the components of it. So what is this looking like? This one is a SCOM exploded, I mean, so sort of it's been exploded into this pie chart, and therefore you know how much is text, image, and stuff, and you're saying to me, why are you showing this to me? I'll tell you why. Because most of the time when you create content, the content starts aging that day itself. So you might have created some wonderful content yesterday, but it's going to age in 1 year and it will be useless. The second thing is SCOM, by the way, is a finished product. So it's not like a, my favorite blueberry muffin, which you can possibly unbake and now you can bake it into a a chocolate muffin now because it is a final state. That's a final file you get. So content engineering tries to go inside, make changes to it, so your content is never old, and you can still, sort of do many things with it. Some of the things I'll tell you will be dramatic. You will probably like it, at least as an example. You may try it in your organization. We're very open to give you free licenses to try it out even. So one thing is that this is an X-ray of the content, you figure it out. Then the next thing you can do is you can compress it the way you like without needing the source files. How good is that? So you can even sort of resize it to your liking, but you will say, is it pretty enough? I mean, is it enough to talk about it? No. So, well, the next thing, let's just go over here. This is the vision that it is leading to. One is that the bandwidth and cloud cost should be 0. And we are trying to do that with this, and we'll tell you how. And then I'll give you some examples. E-learning content should not be a black box. You should be able to change it. You buy a furniture from IKEA, you're able to refit it a little bit, isn't it? I mean, it's not a final thing. That will not change. So same way for content. Even if you can't trace down the vendor who created it or the source file, those kind of things. And the default experience should be mobile first. Tell me this. Now, maybe you will agree to this. Don't you feel sometimes that the content buffers on your mobile devices, slower than the grass grows? Do you agree with that sometimes? Yeah? I mean, some of you are nodding a little bit. Yeah, fair enough. Good for me so far. So what I'm saying is that it can be improved also through content engineering, because you can do a lot of tweaks. And the R&D center will be able to tell you more, but I'm just giving you the brief flakes of it. And these are some of the outcomes. Now, this was for a company based out in Philly. This is the amount that they had spent like 6.5 years back creating some fantastic content. It was a manufacturing organization, and in Philadelphia, they really are pretty like one of the Fortune 500 organizations again. Now this content, 6.5 years old, what it is called today? Junk, isn't it? I mean, nobody wants to use that. So they estimated, went to the market, and I don't need to tell you what kind of profane RFP responses they got, like $15 million and this and that, because you have to practically recreate it. They actually spent $24,000 US, and they refurbished it as you would, and the content was pretty good. It is still, now it looks very contemporary. It has got new features in it, like AR, VR is also included in it. How? That's a matter of detail. And this second example is slightly different. I'm going to run a little fast now because I'm going to skip time many times. So therefore, this one is an example where some organization, they picked up just the 5 most popular courses. They were not faulty courses, they were good courses. They were used a lot. And they said, okay, we'll go and compress it, and we'll see what happens to the cloud costs. So that's the amount of money they saved in about 2.5 quarters of operation. So this can happen to you also. You see, no wonder Amazon is a $1 trillion company, because the moment anybody touches a content, they have $1 coming to their account. So that's what you want to look at. If you are trying to reduce the L&D cost, you can even change everything on your LMS, re-optimize it. That's one thing you can do. And then, of course, I'll skip this example because of time, but it was a new mobile first kind of a delivery which happened because the content could be refashioned and a new example could be created. Next slide is important. So therefore, I want to skip this. So this is what you can do and try out yourself. Take some old content. The example here shows you 2 things. A legacy SCOM being stapled with AR or QR codes. Okay. So when you do that, this is the SCOM, and this is what it looks like the moment you flash your mobile device with it. And this was done afterwards, after the storyboard was created 2 years back, and this is what somebody thought, that we should actually show them a running motor on top of that screen, which is an e-learning. So you can do those things. And the other example is that where you just put a QR code to any e-learning that you already have, any SCOM, and now you can maybe, just your imagination, maybe you are going to take feedback from people, maybe you will make them fill a form, maybe you will show something to them, or attendance, which is very popular. Am I doing okay on time? Okay, so fair enough. So competency management. Now this thing, you will say, yeah, Sameer, what are you going to talk about here? So the point is, let me try to see a view here where I call it mathematically a vector problem. You've got 2 vectors misaligned in competency management. What are those? At least tell me your feedback, even if you don't agree with me. You don't have to agree with me. I can see you are already not agreeing with me on most of the points, guys, anyways. So let me try this one. So competency inventory should be available in real time. Do you agree with that? Because, you know, if you are talking about any strategic initiative, this is at least a vision. It's not possible, because I'm sure if you have that in real time, that's a wonder. I'd like to really talk and discuss with you. So please reach out and we'll talk. And the second thing is the personalized learning path. We talk about it all the time, but let me just debunk it a little bit. It should have, you know, on the competency gap that person has, but that's only one vector direction. There is this other direction which is coming from the top of the organization, that, you know what, our organization feels that we are going to compete in these markets, so therefore these competencies are needed. So talk to your sales team. They'll tell you that which are the competencies that they really want people on. So the point is, even when you get all the AI-based systems today, they align only on one vector, that person's choices. Then how can you really marry it with the organization's strategic direction also? You do it. I'm not saying you don't do it, but you don't do just enough. Let me take a shot at it in one of the ways that it is done, and let's see whether it rings a bell for you, or you agree with this. So top line over here is a very popular competency path, Aspire journey. Most of the organizations are looking at it and they're saying, we want to have more data analysts, then they become data wranglers or data ops leaders and data scientists. We want people to move in this direction so that their CVs are better. We can have an internal hiring. We can actually sort of reskill into these things and compete better in markets. So the one thing that the organization wants. And you pull content from any of the content provider, maybe LinkedIn Learning, and they'll have it there. Now the question is, how can you recommend it in such a way that it is also matching with what the organization wanted? So you remember that example I gave you, that 39 important competencies for that organization. So imagine you could marry it here and somehow give the recommendation like this. Now you can't really read it, but this is not only recognizing that person, what competency level they are, but is also matching with the competency that the organization wants to be. So let's just go back a little bit. Sorry for going back though. So this imagery is trying to show you that this guy maybe is trying to go down that path, learning cryptocurrencies or maybe some AI, but that's his personal ambition. How about we recommend in such a way that if organization's expectation was here, there's enough reward to go that direction. That's a premise. And if the system can do it automatically with a lot of intelligence. So that is what the thing is. There is this outcome slide for you, and just look at it. In one example, what they did was that the outcome is beautiful because they ended up internally hiring such people, and 87% increase in internal hiring. Why it is great? Because if you go out, firstly you are spending more dollars, then the other thing is your employees are probably becoming redundant. So you really have to look at their CVs also, and if you are improving it, that's employment engagement, isn't it? I mean, you are able to hire them at a lower cost. Then this is some statistic which I'm really not so clear that I can prove in front of you, so I'm going to skip, but that's the number they supplied. This is the money they saved, because they were probably a very large organization, so they had that much saving there. But this one is what I really want you to look at. This is just 112 minutes, not a big deal. This was an extra learning hour that each person consumed of the recommended matching vector set, which means that the organization also wanted you to learn, let's say, Python, and you were doing that. Because you're spoiled for a choice right now. And you didn't worry, because organization is going to reward you for that, probably through an internal hiring, because you get listed into an internal job board also after that, once you finish it. Your pot shot is there. And you are available to all the internal hiring managers. Plus, your CV is that much better. Today, if you get the same amount of consumption on, let's say, just a LinkedIn Learning, that could be on anything that they are having there. Well, not a bad thing, but let's try to allow both the vectors. This is what I'm trying to say here. Now, moving on, finally, now content engineering LMS, not too many slides, don't get bored. I'm also a little hungry, so we'll just walk along together. Now, this is the summary of content engineering LMS, which is provided as a wrapper, which means that you don't have to replace your older systems. You can just take parts that are useful for you, and you can get all the features. It's like what the feature phones couldn't do, and like the new all the best mobile phones have, that they have replaced the feature phones along with the same feature which were already there. So it has all the regular modules, user management, course builder and all that, but it also has something new. Content authoring capability for all the SMEs in the organization. If you've got 50,000 guys, all of them can create content of the quality. Content engineering ability so that you can always refurbish all the old content, and a lot of other modules which I can't talk about, but those are performance support modules, which are sales enablement, ask expert, role play, all of that. Finally, so therefore, let's go to the gaming zone, guys. There are some $8,000 worth of coupons to be taken up today. So play some games with us and win all of that. Meet these wonderful people, Deepa, Pradeep, Shabin, and actually Anjali also. So thanks a lot, guys. Any questions? I'll take it if I still have.
Yeah, we can take 1 or 2 questions.
How much time?
2 minutes left.
2 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, great. You can speak
mic,
it
please.
out loud.
Work that you do, like for example, if you're already on a particular LMS, right? If an organization is already on an LMS, and I can see that this has a great role to play from the point of view of skilling, reskilling, and also internal job rotation, right? So how do you can it talk to, like for example, if we are working on Workday, can it talk to Workday, pull up the data from there, and then of course process it through your system? How does it work? Because the problem is that a company already invests in LMSs, and then of course things get redundant, and the question is, how do you become more agile?
Yeah, you're right. So what's your name though?
Sorry, I've got a sweet inside. Asha.
Asha. Okay, so Asha, great question. Now the short answer is yes, it will sit on top of it because it's a part of what is called wrapper layer, which essentially means you don't have to replace anything. All those features come as a module on top of it. It's a technical detail which I can definitely explain to you. But yeah, I mean, it's very much possible, and this is how it is utilized also. So you can use your Workday, any other technologies.
All right.
Yeah,
and this thing of internal hiring now, I like the concept of the skills repository that you're able to create, right?
Yeah.
Now, does it also pick up the data from the resume? So how does it do it?
Well,
can you scan it? And because
wonderful question, because if I did pick up from resume, isn't it like a dated history? It's probably not current. I'm talking about maybe last week. We should know what is the competency level. So competencies are getting acquired at 2 points. All those touch points would be covered here. So one is when, let's say, they are working on a project where they're picking new competency, let's just say that. Then the other thing is a lot of learning that they're probably doing through, whatever systems you have in the market. Within the organization, on your LXP, on your LMS, maybe Workday also.
Manually entered is what I want.
It is able to pick that.
So it automatically picks it, or you're
yes,
supposed to?
Yes, it picks up, and therefore it knows that where that person is from last week to this week, and therefore the recommendation engine picks up that part and recommends a course which is therefore aligned to that learning path, and also looking at the taste of this person.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. It works somewhat like a Netflix. Netflix is much better. It works on probably more than 200 factors. This works on 63 factors, and therefore is able to align.
Great. Thanks, Sameer. Love to talk to you about this.
Thank you, Asha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.